no one at all. No one. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Solving. Solving it. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this, I think, very interesting discussion that we have ahead of us on Ukrainian recovery and reconstruction with quite a fantastic panel that I will present more in a minute. My name is Jakob Hallgren. I'm the director of the Swedish Institute of International Affairs, UI, and I'm really happy to have been asked to moderate this. I think this is quite a timely event and quite a timely topic about the, shall we call it, collective responsibility to stand by Ukraine in the long term. We tend to stick to the daily issues because while Ukraine very concretely defends not only the future of Ukraine itself, but I'd argue the future of Europe as we speak, with the people who are sacrificing themselves for that every day. The question, which I think is really timely, is to also raise the regard here and look at what happens after the end of the conflict, however it ends, which is a separate discussion. So essentially, there are two questions. How will the necessary reconstruction long-term take place? But also, conversely, in what ways will Ukraine contribute to Europe's future, whether it is in security terms or democratic ethos and values and preparedness, etc. And I think that this discussion is particularly timely today because it actually coincides with the opening of the Ukraine Recovery Conference in Gdansk, Poland. So while the run-up of that conference has unfortunately been marred by a little bilateral spat between Poland and Ukraine, which I hope is passing, the bigger and long-term issues are real. They will require action, whether we like it or not. Non-action also has a cost. So in order to unpack these important questions, I have the privilege here to have this impressive panel, as I said. We have Samantha Job, who is the British ambassador to Sweden. We have Robert Sinclair, who is the Canadian ambassador to Sweden. We have Thierry Carlier, who is the French ambassador to Sweden. And then we have, of course, Svitlana Salisyuk, who is the Ukrainian ambassador to Sweden. And last but not least, Ludger Simes, the German ambassador to Sweden. I think it's fantastic to have you, and with the perspectives that you all represent for this discussion. So let me maybe start with quite a big question. And that is a question about endurance and long-term sustainability. Do you think the world will be there for the long term for Ukraine? And I ask this because, there are issues about budgetary constraints, there's issues about fatigue, etc. And there is always discussions about raising support and funds and so on. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll start with you, Svetlana, to set the tone, and then we'll ask the fellow ambassador. So please.
Thank you.
You have the mic there. Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me? Yes. Thank you very much, Jakob. And I think the setting of this table answers your question probably better than I do. With you in the leadership, France on the right, and Germany on the left, and my colleagues Samantha and Robert, UK and Canada here. It's a kind of example of the coalition or part of the coalition that are with us. And I think it's very symbolical that this table in this constellation is present here. But the second answer to this question would be is that the truth is, if frontline collapses in Ukraine, it does not disappear. It will just come closer to the border with EU, to the European countries. So it is also very pragmatic, I think, not only a value-based support, but also it's part of a strategic thinking. How do you strengthen your deterrence and your defense?
That's great. I mean, it's just it reminds us that this is an existential question, right? Samantha?
So for the UK, we've signed a 100-year partnership with Ukraine. 100 years. And that was precisely to address this issue. It's not a short-term solution. It needs to be a long-term partnership. And it's in our interests, our security interests, our defense interests, our economic interests, to be building that partnership with Ukraine. And the counterfactual, a Ukraine that we walk away from, would, after all of this effort and investment, if we're not there to rebuild, that's not a future I want to be in, and would also have security and economic and all sorts of consequences for us. So yes, I think we do need to be there for the long haul, and I think these countries are a coalition who'll be arguing for that.
Robert, thank you, Samantha, for that. Yeah.
So, absolutely echo what Svetlana and Sam have said. Canada is there for as long as it takes. We've given $25.5 billion since 2022 in multifaceted military, financial, humanitarian, and recovery assistance. This is sustained long-term commitment, but we also have a sustained long-term human commitment. The human dimension is a key priority for us. We co-lead the International Coalition for Return of Ukrainian Children with Ukraine. We co-hosted the high-level meeting to accelerate those efforts in May. And mark your calendars, September 28th, 29th, we'll host the Ministerial Conference on Return of Ukrainian POWs, detained civilians, and deported children. Ukraine is not alone. We must maintain that unity and political will.
That is happening in Canada.
In Toronto, sorry, yes. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the nudge. So we've got to maintain that unity and political will, because Putin's Russia is not just at war with Ukraine. He's directing his efforts at the West, and Ukraine is fighting our fight, not just Ukraine's fight.
Thank you for that, Robert. Thierry, what would be the French view on this?
So first, Jacob, thank you very much for gathering all of us here. And first, I wanted to say that we are hugely impressed by the exchange we just had with the Ukrainian officers and their courageous fight. It's absolutely enormous. And as Svetlana was mentioning, I think the question is, if we can afford to sustain Ukraine, I think the question is more if we could afford not to, because it's a fate of Europe. Ukraine is fighting for us. Ukraine is fighting for our future. And then the question is how we not transition, because of course we need to continue to sustain Ukraine military in the long run. So you know that France has always tried to provide some game changer equipment. So we were mentioning the Mirage 2000-5 with the Ukrainian officers just right now, cruise missiles. Then now we need to know how we are able to transition to a sustainable long-term strategy. And so of course it has to be a mix between governmental financing, but also international institution and private finance. And of course, how in the long run we will have a stronger and modernized Ukraine, because it's the best way to also deter Russia in the long run.
Yeah, so transforming this into a long-term perspective also in the planning horizons, budgets, etc. And then, I mean, the costs of no action. I mean, either you plan costs or you get costs. So, Ludger, what's your view?
More or less, I can only concur or echo what has been said. So, in very brief words, the fate of Ukraine since Ukrainian independence has always been of defining Europe. Ukraine defines Europe. Second, the Chancellor Merz has been adamant from the outset of his government to say as long as it takes the support for Ukraine. Third, it has always also been very clear, and he has taken a number of steps in this direction. Ukraine has to become member of the European Union. So again, as long as it takes. It will not be an easy process. No. This will be a very difficult road. We will both have to master, but the goal is EU membership for Ukraine. And depending how developments in the future are, it's also about NATO membership. So it is in these kinds of definitions. Yes, we will, as I said, it will be a very difficult road in the long run, but it's a road which we have to tackle. And I have repeated it, and fortunately, Thierry and Samantha have to hear it once again, is what I am saying. In the very end, it's not that we want to give Putin the opportunity to snatch victory out of the jaws of defeat.
Yeah, it defines Europe, right? As you said, and we'll get into a question about EU integration in the moment. But so we all agree there is a very clear long-term perspective, and the alternatives are extremely costly. So then if this now defines Europe, is it then a responsibility for Europe to kind of take care of the rebuilding of Ukraine, or is it a wider global responsibility? What does that actually mean? You said it's not going to be an easy process. How do we foresee this? What's the wish from the Ukrainian side? If I ask you, Svetlana, first.
If you look across the road, I mean, literally here, there is another tent of Operation 8, Swedish organization that brought today children from Kherson. Kherson partially occupied. I just talked to these children. They don't go, so the education continues, but they do not go physically to school. They can study only online. So Swedish organization Operation 8 comes to that city to help a little bit to create the infrastructure for these children to have music and sport and create some facilities for education. And this is when you talk about rebuilding sounds maybe a little bit too technical, but this is what does it mean? It means bringing back a human form of life to Ukrainian society and the whole nation. This is what, for me, means rebuilding, that all these children, our next generation, has a chance to have childhood, education, profession, job, and so on, something that everyone deserves to have. And yes, I think that from that perspective, it is a shared responsibility. Ukraine did not provoke this war. It's an aggression which violates international laws, international principles, values, statutes of UN, and so on. And I believe there is a moral commitment to help Ukraine to rebuild itself, also from the perspective that my colleagues have mentioned, that today we are protecting not just our territory, we are protecting the principles that the whole European continent is built on. But also I think that it's worth mentioning that rebuilding of Ukraine will be an opportunity for Europe. It will be the biggest rebuilding case since the end of World War II. There will exist some sort of a Marshall Plan. Ukraine still, even with 20% of occupied territory, is one of the biggest countries in Europe with a big number of population. Right now it's 30 million we have, but when Ukrainians return it will be more. And for example, when it comes to Sweden, there are 80 companies still working in Ukraine, not going to relocate. There are 2,600 companies that have been opened since the beginning of the war. Ukraine is now, you know very well, thriving when it comes to defense tech, military tech. It's not a charity case. It's a contributor to European defense. That's how we ask you to look at us. We are your, not a charity case, we're your strategic partners on the front line. And this rebuilding case will be also a factor for economic growth on the whole European continent. So for your business, it will be an opportunity, not just a possibility to help us.
Well, thank you, Svetlana, for first of all reminding that rebuilding is not only about bridges, but also to giving back hope and a future, right? And then also saying so clearly that this is a at least European responsibility. Ludger, if I ask you again, we shall come back to the EU integration later on. You're representing one of the bigger economies in Europe, and how do you see this? How would this kind of European or wider responsibility actually work out for recovery and reconstruction, do you think?
Perhaps a couple of comments. First of all, we shouldn't forget, actually, it is Russia's responsibility to pay for rebuilding. They started the war of aggression. So there's one asset in the toolbox, if you may say so. Second, rebuilding is definitely rebuilding is also happening. It's not that we have this image that nothing is happening. As Svetlana managed, there are companies opening business in Ukraine. There's already a lot of flow going into Ukraine because of the possibilities which, and the ingenuity of people, the ingenuity of engineers helping out the defenses of Ukraine. So the rebuilding in a way is happening. Also learning from the incredible ingenuity of rebuilding after all those attacks from Russia. So rebuilding is already happening. Third, there are huge opportunities, and we have to do so also for, let's say, we have had the experience, if we don't take care of countries which have been war-ravaged by a foreign aggression, these countries tend to come to us. So there is also an interest, again, here Ukraine defines Europe in a way, that we have to take care of this rebuilding. It will not be, there are huge amounts out there. I think roughly 600 billion euros is the current calculation of the cost of rebuilding. Exactly, yeah. But it has to happen, and the setup there, you mentioned the recovery conference today. So the mindset is set on helping Ukraine to have, in the case of some kind of settlement, have the possibility to thrive again. So the mindset is going in this direction.
Thank you, Ludger. Thierry, would you like to add to this question something on about how this would be done? Is it a mainly European responsibility or more of a global?
Of course, I can only concur, and in what Svetlana mentioned, it's absolutely not, as she said, absolutely not charity. It's our duty. It's our shared responsibility for Europe because, as we said, Ukraine is defending ourselves and not only Ukraine. So, therefore, and also as Svetlana and Ludger were mentioning, rebuilding has already started. And of course, we need to have it at a quicker pace because this brings hope. This enables also, displaced population to return back home. And then the third aspect, and of course it will also make a link with what we were mentioning about EU membership. I think, we can only commend already the tremendous efforts which have been undertaken by Ukraine in the current situation. It's unbelievable to be able to do such efforts when you are in a war situation where, let's say, the governance, the structures, this has progressed towards membership. There is still a long way to go, but of course, rebuilding is going to be very important from that perspective as well. And then, so once again, what we need in order, Russia, they only understand strength and deterrence. The rest does not exist. So it's, as Svetlana was mentioning, it's definitely also our interest to have a strong Ukraine, and of course rebuilding is definitely part of that approach, because it's also the best way to deter Russia once again.
So we need to be strong not only militarily but also economically. Rob, I mean, you see this from Canada, so how would you, is this mainly a European responsibility? How would Canada and others see this, allies, etc.?
So just echo again what Ludger and Thierry and Svetlana have all said, that this is a shared responsibility, but it's also in our interests long term. I mean, these are investments. Yeah, they're investments in our own economic and physical security long term, because if we want Ukraine to continue on that Western path, we're facilitating that long-term Western orientation, which is in all our interests, let's be frank. And Ukraine has, as Svetlana has outlined, so much to bring to the table for the economies and societies long-term, whether that's energy, agriculture, innovation, the people skills, incredibly innovative, intellectual capacities that Ukraine brings to the table. So it's an investment. Canada supports the use of extraordinary revenues from immobilized Russian assets. That's another avenue. We have to think imaginatively about how we get Russia to pay.
Samantha, maybe you could take that mic if yeah.
Get Russia to pay is a great place to start.
Get Russia to
think
pay
we all
the
agree with
frozen
that.
assets. Yeah, it's not an entirely easy question, but it's
no, but it's really important, and we
Yeah.
shouldn't take our foot off the gas on that topic just because we've now got an EU loan. That doesn't make the asset problem something we can sit back and not worry about.
It's about half of the
Absolutely.
600, right? Something like that.
We should be using assets. I would echo what everyone has said about, not a charity case. If it's a shared responsibility, it's a shared responsibility with Ukraine as well. And we need to really listen to how Ukraine wants to rebuild and how we can partner with them, and not be, or let our businesses sort of go into that paternalistic, we know best, let us come and sell you our thing because it's our favorite thing. No, that's not what we need to do. And I just wanted to pick up this issue about rebuilding society. We're doing a lot of work on violence against women and girls and collecting information that might become evidence of war crimes trials. Rebuilding society involves rebuilding, or building in some cases, veteran care, PTSD, psychological care. These are things that Putin will not be doing in Russia, and he will have some real problems with the guys going back. But we need to help Ukraine absorb the psychological trauma and release the resource that all of those people represent. And the same way, helping children get back into school, helping people get back to work is going to be really important.
That's really important, showing that what we do as democracies, right, as a contrast to certain other autocratic. Svetlana, we don't have a lot of time, but could you maybe just walk us through what you see as the most important sectors for the recovery and the reconstruction, as it already happens, as we've heard, but I guess the big push is going to happen once the guns are silent. So if you could just provide us a little bit with that picture.
So maybe I will start from the thing that we needed most during the last winter, and that you are very aware of. It's energy system. Ukraine had a capacity of 90 gigawatts of producing the electricity. Russia managed to destroy more than half of it. And energy system of Ukraine has to be rebuilt. Even from a perspective that, everyone takes for granted when it's light and warm at home. We did not take it for granted. We understood that electricity is the blood system of the whole economy and normal functioning of the society. Electricity is about everything. It's about your food, it's about your fridge, it's about your heating very often. Water, one of the most important things that you need actually when the electricity disappears, the water pumps doesn't work. So if you live in a multi-story buildings, you do not have water, and it's inhuman then. And I've experienced it myself, and thank you for saying that. That's true. So energy system, first and foremost. And we don't want to rebuild what we had since Soviet times. We don't want to build, obviously, fossil fuel power station. It's time for a climate neutral, green, European compatible energy system. Of course, a lot of infrastructure, roads and social infrastructure. Putin does not differ when he attacks, whether it's a military object or social infrastructure. He doesn't care. So hospitals and schools and kindergartens, all of this infrastructure has been damaged in many, many areas. Churches as well. Only 2 weeks ago, one of our oldest church on the whole European continent has been hit.
In the city center of Kiev, right? Yeah.
Next to the parliament, literally. Next to the Chinese embassy, by the way, as well, not far away. Chinese embassy always thought that they're very secure and they're not going to be attacked, but here you go. So these are the areas that we need rebuilding. But Samantha, thank you so much, because you brought also this human perspective. We indeed, apart from the infrastructure, we need also to bring back, to try to bring back people's their feeling of normality, and it requires a lot of. First of all, it's about justice. So, and very quick story. My husband is an international human rights defender. He was working on many tribunals around the world. When the war started, Ukrainian Ministry for Foreign Affairs promoted the creation of the Tribunal on Aggression to investigate the aggression of Putin. So I came to him and I said, Wayne, what do you think about that? And he said, forget about it. There is no political will in the European Union on the global level. It's just not going to happen. I know them all, how tribunals have been created. It's not going to happen. Just 2 weeks ago, we finally signed a legal mechanism which is launching the Tribunal on Aggression to investigate Putin's aggression, those criminals. And so I'm very happy. I was very happy to come home and said, "My husband, you were wrong."
We usually are.
But that's one of the things what we have to rebuild. Justice is very important. You mentioned investigations of sexual crimes and crimes against humanity. We need to bring justice to people so that it will be the possibility to reconcile what has happened and to move forward, but also psychological support. We know that there are already millions of people in Ukraine, including children, of course. Children are very affected. Another short story, the last one. Just before I came here, so I have son. He's going to turn on this Saturday 3 years old. He's with me here on Gotland. And just before I left, it was August 2025, 9 months ago. We were sitting in a street, and you know, he was 2 years and a half, and this age, children only learn speaking, really. So there is a police car passing by doing this, wee-oo, wee-oo, you know. So it passed by, and he said very clearly, he said, "Alarm, shelter." And my heart shrank, because I didn't teach him these words. He knew these words before he knew words cake and chocolate. However, they're also bad for children, I guess. But this is how much our children are affected and going through trauma. So bringing the feeling of normality is also a very important responsibility.
Well, thank you for walking us through that wide horizon of demands and needs for reconstruction. Let me now ask you others here. You've already been touching upon it a little bit. We said that there is almost $600 billion projected in needs for the next decade as a cost for the reconstruction. The Russian assets equals about some $300 billion. I understand, something like that, 250. I don't know. Maybe it's less than 300. I mean, and you said that some of the reconstruction is already happening. But could you others just, if you would like to say some words about, you know, how will this, what can start already now in terms of reconstruction, and what has to come later during the conflict and after the end of the conflict, and Is there any way, I mean, the European Council failed in December to release the Russian frozen assets, but is there any way that could be a way forward, or do you see some other kind of financing vehicles or so? Anyone who would like to jump on that one, or those two? Samantha looks eager.
I'll be very quick. So the European Council question is not one for me, but nor you. But we are all G7 partners, where we have taken this decision. There is G7 agreement that Russia should pay, and the UK is ready with the assets that are frozen in the UK.
Does that include the United
exactly
States
the
as
same
well?
thing.
Yeah.
It's a G7 agreement.
Very good.
So that that is something we will hold together, and we very much hope that the frozen assets, wherever they sit, we will contribute. The other thing I wanted to say about rebuilding before or after the end of hostilities is just to pick up what Svetlana says. Rebuilding is happening every day. The energy infrastructure, the the transport infrastructure, these are things we need to learn from Ukraine when we're in Sweden thinking about total defense, or any of our countries thinking about civilian defense.
It's part of resilience, right?
It's part of resilience. So yes, there will be some things that come later, but don't underestimate what's happening already.
Anyone else who would like to chip in on this one? Thierry?
Yeah, perhaps without being too theoretical, what we think is that there should be some different phases, when it comes to rebuilding and the different leverages you can use. Going from what Svetlana mentioned, of course there has to be, which is already ongoing, but some kind of first phase which has to focus on some very emergency recovery that you need to have in order to maintain very essential services. And of course what you mentioned about energy from that perspective is absolutely crucial. Then you can have a second phase where you rebuild damaged infrastructure, but perhaps already in a different way, because it's enabled also to support at a larger scale economic activity. And then also echoing what Svetlana mentioned, then you can have a third or final phase where you have a very large scale reconstruction effort, which of course then is going to follow a sustainable piece where you can activate some different leverages in order, let's say, to modernize in depth the country, and of course the innovation which is going on in Ukraine in the defense sector, all these let's say amazing skills that we see, they can be of course used in other sectors. So once again, to build a different country, and really, of course, taking the benefit to have a fully modernized infrastructure and country, and of course, ensure a better life.
Okay, so we hope for that the G7 commitment on the frozen assets will be followed through, and thank you for outlining the steps forward when it comes to recovery. I'd like, if I may, to turn things a little bit around and not only talk about what Ukraine needs, but also what Ukraine already today and in the future can contribute with to Europe's future. I asked you at the outset, I mean, in terms of security, in terms of democratic commitment, etc. I mean, let's be a little bit visionary. I mean, what does Ukraine have, and what will it contribute with, as the recovery hopefully happens, and that a settlement will happen after the conflict on Ukraine's term. Ludger, are you eager to take that one on?
Okay. First, the strongest army in Europe. Second, incredible innovation in defense technology. Perhaps innovation across the board, if we take questions of resilience and reconstruction, in simple things like generators providing electricity. So ingenuity, innovation in this. then Ukrainian economy before the war, or the many aggressions before the many aggressions, agriculture, also innovation in agriculture. Then you have mining industry, very interesting too. So Ukraine can contribute in extremely in substantial ways to European security and welfare. So there are incredible possibilities ahead of us. And again, and this will be all put together if we look at a picture of puzzle in Ukrainian becoming a member of the European Union. So
I'll come to that question in a minute. Rob?
Yeah, I just want to agree with all of the specifics that Ludger has highlighted, but also this is an investment in our collective future. I mean, Putin's Russia will be a threat for years and years and years to come. That's the Russia he has created. Sam alluded to these masses of messed up people who are coming back to Russia, and what's Putin going to do with them? So investing in Ukraine is an investment in our own security and in our own economic future.
Samantha?
Robert said more or less what I was going to say, but I'm going to put it in one word: deterrence.
What did you say? Deterrence?
Deterrence.
Yeah, yeah. You can add another word.
And hope.
Deterrence and hope. Huh? So, Svetlana, do you agree? Would you like to add something that you foresee that Ukraine is already and will be contributing to the future of Europe?
It felt like my team has shared the talking points with my colleague ambassadors. But I will add one thing.
It's not prepared. It's not, you know.
But I'm joking, of course. I mean, colleagues just left me without a necessity to add anything, because I agree with everything has been said. But I'll add one thing, though. It's just an example, which very inspiring. So one of the biggest problems of this war is, of course, ballistic missiles. So Russians produce approximately 60 ballistic missiles today a month. And we have only few countries in the world that produce anti-ballistic systems. Americans are one of them, known for Patriot system, you've heard of them. So Patriots produce only 50 missiles, anti-ballistic missiles. So 60, 50, right? And as we've learned with the Iran war, everyone needs interceptors for the Patriots if they want to feel secured. And if you understand, of course, there is a big line today on the global level of how many countries want those interceptors. So Ukrainians, and for us, it's a big thing, right? We stabilize the situation on the front line, and Russians don't do so well on the front line right now. And I'm saying that in front of my military people who is standing there, in front of my soldiers, because it's their result. But that is why Russians understand that peaceful cities are vulnerable, and they send a lot of those ballistic missiles on our churches and hospitals and kindergartens. So we as Ukraine, we realized the deficit and the problem, and we started to think, okay, maybe we should create also the anti-ballistic system. And, you know, it's a rocket science, like literally rocket science, but only a week ago, a Financial Times released an article which is a proof to what's happening in Ukraine, that Ukrainians successfully tested first ballistic missile produced in Ukraine. And we are now in negotiations with some of our partners here, even to create an anti-ballistic coalition and to produce anti-ballistic system, which will be a real shift in terms of defense thinking, security thinking. It will be a global shift on the front line. It will change the calculation of Russia of whether they want to attack Ukraine and European continent. So it's going to be a huge change. And of course, it will take time. It's still an effort. It's a ongoing process. But we believe we're going to be successful. And it's one of those things when you ask, like, what Ukraine can contribute and where we can cooperate. this is where we can cooperate to feel, to build our deterrence together. Good word.
Very powerful, don't you agree, Jan? I want to move. I want to move to the EU question. So very briefly.
But very shortly, because I think it's an absolutely key question. Because we know that in this war, let's say transitioning now to this ballistic attacks is something which is very absolutely key. And of course, I just wanted to totally confirm what Zita mentioned, and that France is contributing already with a SAMT capability, and we have a new generation which is coming, and we tackle that with the Ukrainian officers just right now. And of course, this is an effort where it's absolutely key to participate, and we have capabilities available in Europe already.
Yeah. Thank you, Thierry. And I mean, this amazing ingenuity and ability to quickly turn around and innovate is just fantastic. We're almost a little bit on overtime, but I do want to add an important dimension, because when you talk about recovery and you talk about reconstruction, I think a key to that, which has already been alluded to, and I said that we will come back to, is of course EU integration for Ukraine. Now, the so-called Cluster 1 negotiations on the fundamental issues started last week, and I'd like you to weave that perspective into what we've discussed before. Essentially, what is your assessment of that process going ahead? And I mean, maybe I'd start with you, Ludger, because you mentioned it the first time. So, I mean, I'm not going to ask when is Ukraine going to be a member, but if you could just explain a little bit how you see this as a part of that necessary reconstruction of the country.
It's a necessary way. You mentioned Cluster 1. We are hoping that we are also going to open all the other clusters by the beginning of summer. If you look outside, you have the impression it's already summertime. So in the next couple of weeks, so that we can really move forward and work on these clusters. As I also alluded, it's going to be a very hard road that we have to travel. Okay, but we have a shared goal, and that we have to take this road. Having said this, the Chancellor has wrote a letter to the other heads of state and government a couple of weeks ago, trying to underline once again the priority of achieving this goal, and also showing possibilities of how intermediate steps can be taken, not to leave the impression that this is something like an alien to the goal. The goal remains Ukraine becoming member of the European Union, but because it's going to be a hard road, that we have possibilities of taking intermediate steps to make this happen more quickly.
Yeah. Thank you, Ludger. Thierry, would you like to add?
Yeah, so once again, I wanted to highlight what also makes us optimistic is that what Ukraine has already achieved in the current situation they are in. Already tremendous reforms, there is lots already going on. And of course, when it comes to what Ludger mentioned, you know, it's also based on a German-French initiative and non-paper which was released at that time, that membership has to be the result. There is absolutely no question about that. We know it's going to be a stepped approach, and for them the question is, let's say, how we are able to frame that approach, but while bearing in mind that full membership is the absolute goal. It has to resume. It's still a way to go, but what let's say Ukraine is doing makes us optimistic about the final result.
Svetlana, you will get the last brief words about this before wrapping up. So how do you see this process going forward?
One sentence: Ukraine will become a member of European Union. No doubts about it.
Yeah. And I think there are some quite powerful examples of previous members who've become, you know, very prosperous and peaceful in quite a short time. So let's retain that fantastic perspective. Thank you all so much for contributing with excellent and frank contributions to this. So let's end there and thank this fantastic panel with a big round of applause.
Please stay. So, I'm Sven Bergland, one of the responsible for this hub. I think Christina is somewhere here. Christina, can you come here? And would like to, for all of you to have a look around. Just take a quick look around here. So, it's probably one of the only places I can come in a t-shirt and a head like this and interrupt the ambassadors. And we have a mix also with the fantastic, you're going to meet them later, the soldiers from Ukraine here. We've had a lot of different people from civil organizations, from the military, from volunteer organizations, and this kind of shows how we can work together. But I only have one question to you. Will you stand with Ukraine long term? As long as it takes. You can say it a little louder. Will you stand as long as it takes? Thank you very much. I'd now like to welcome you a very special person for Gotland. He used to be the regiment chief of P18, and if you are that, you're responsible for the defense of one of the most important parts of Sweden. And now you're not here on Gotland anymore, but you will hear where he comes from. And General Major Artin, please step forward.
Kära vänner and dear friends, as born and raised on this island and this town, I must say welcome to Gotland and welcome to Visby. And welcome to this island that for 1 week every summer becomes the beating heart of Swedish democracy. And especially welcome to those of you that have traveled far to be here. It's a privilege to stand here at the gathering that brings together two people who grown closer than either of us could expect just a few years ago. There is something fitting about holding this conversation here on Gotland. This is an island that sits in the middle of the Baltic Sea, a strategic point that matters to every power in this region for centuries. And it matters again today. That's why Sweden has reinforced the defense here in recent years, and it's a reminder that geography never stops mattering, no matter how much we wished otherwise after the Cold War ended. This week in Almedalen is about debate, about arguing loudly but peacefully about our future. This right to gather, to disagree, to speak freely is exactly what Ukraine is fighting for, to defend every day and today. So to our Ukrainian friends here today, thank you. Thank you for your resilience, for your innovation even under fire, for the courage of the ordinary people who refuse to let their country disappear. You remind the rest of Europe what democracy actually costs and what it's worth. And to my fellow Swedes, let this event be more than small talk on the warm Gotland day. Let it be a reminder that everything said this week only matters if it leads somewhere. Support for Ukraine cannot be seasonal. It has to outlast the headlines, outlast the news cycles, and outlast our own fatigue. So let's talk politics, let's talk cooperation, but also let's talk just person to person, because it's in the end, solidarity isn't built in conference room. It's built right here on this island, in this room, like this. Thank you.
In Ukraine, we have a tradition of presenting certificates to mark the special occasions.
Okay, we know we're a little on overtime, but we have something important to say here now. Carl, vänta lite. So there are some people I'd like us to honor here. I'd like to the soldiers from the 24th and 24th Brigade and the 21st Brigade to enter the stage, please. And they will be here now at our mingle, and they are here to talk to you. So if you stand in the mingle next to a person you already know, then you're in the wrong place. So use this opportunity now to speak to each other. They are very eager to tell what's happening in Ukraine. And there's no better people, experts on our CV90 that Sweden has donated and the Stridsvagn 122 than these people, some of them. And some of them do other things as well. But they've been here. They've been doing lectures for the whole regiment up here this week. They've had meetings with Hägglund, the CEO of Hägglund. They've had meetings with the CEO of Volvo Construction. They're having a meeting tomorrow with the defense minister. And they're meeting a lot of diplomats and civil organizations. But first and foremost, they defend us on the front. They are not from the back side. They're really from the front side. And you're going to find out more by talking to them later. I'd like to first that we just give a round of applause, maybe standing, right? Thank you. I know we can go on forever. When you're here now, I'd like you to take the time to visit the organizations around here. There are organizations around here who do a lot to support Ukraine. They might just have a small tent here, but the things they do for Ukraine is very, very big. So please take your time. This is the purpose of this mingle, not to stand next to the person you know, right? Then you're in the wrong place. Remember that. Talk to the organizations, find out what they're doing. Talk to our friends from the Ukrainian military at the front line. Talk to the volunteers around to meet them. Visit the art exhibition. This is an honor honoring the soldiers of Ukraine. The photos are produced by the soldiers themselves, put together in an exhibition we call Through Their Eyes. This is how the soldiers see the war, and there are stories, there are letters from them. This is not a document about the soldiers in the First World War. This is documents real time. So I hope you take your time there. And I'm going to read you a short text. As the first viewers in Northern Europe, you're going to be able to see an artwork, a digital artwork on the screen outside here. It's made by Artem. He's a Ukrainian visual artist and a photographer. The project is called Scars. And Svetlana was speaking here about the drones, the missiles coming in. This artwork is creating itself all the time. It's connected to the database of the air Syrian systems. You will see all the scars being made into Ukraine. Every line here is a missile, is a drone. Every line is possibly death and disaster. And as new rockets are fired, they appear on this network and they remain as a yellow line because they remain as a scar. So please have a look at this big screen. We'll put up the information there about this also. And I know that you also have something to say. So I think, Sergei, you would like to say something, yes?
Dear friends, dear General, dear colleagues, I want to say thank for all our old friends and new friends from Sweden for your understanding, for your support, and for your effort to our resilience and to our victory. Several minutes ago, I have heard a conversation about Ukraine is protection Europe. Personally, I protect my family, my home, my city, and just here, I understood what my family is a part of Europe. My city is a part of Europe. What Ukraine is Europe. And this understanding is It's the place it was born for me here. Thank you for this understanding too.
Dear friends, Sir General, Your Excellencies who are present here. So, sorry, soldiers sometimes also crying, but these tears are now it's tears of gratitude for such support. I saw during these days here in this island for such support from all people who are presented here. So it's as Sergei said, it's really that gives us we really realized that we are a part of Europe, and we understand what we're fighting for and for what our country is suffering. Thank you.
Hello everyone. I would like to say thank you very much. Thank you for the attitude. For the few days that we are here, we can feel it with a lot of people from different organizations, from different members of parties, with the usual people who just come here and takes part in this event, and it feels very strong. Yes. So thank you very much. Thanks.
Listening to ambassadors from the European countries, they used several times the word democracy. This is a very abstract word, which is very hardly to understand sometimes. In the simple words, I understand this word as a kind, good people organize their societies in the way that social lives are working, that normal people with no aggressions, human, not animals like Russians, are managing their lives in their countries. Of course, Ukraine is also the country where most people are kind, nice, not aggressive. It's my understanding of democracy. And if more proper people with human thinking of humans will be responsible, will be trying to do something more altruistic than egoistic, we will build perfect world as well. Maybe, thanks God, maybe it is a nature. There are other people, as I told you, animals. Those animals are all the time teasing us, all the time they try to do something to make our lives harder. That means that even kind and proper people in democratic countries, as we understand democracy, must be to some level properly organized, military developed, to be ready to get those animals rid of them and to put their aggressive down. As more Russians our brigade killed, as better and safer we are in Ukraine. So please be ready, please organize your communities, home defense, militaries, also to be ready to stand with us if this time comes. This time comes several times in the world, with Karl XII, with Napoleon, and it may be repeated. Let's do that this time. We would be more better organized, coherent, speaking to each other, understanding to each other, not to lose. Thank you.
Dear sirs, ladies and gentlemen, I want to call Karina Eriksson. Please come to me. Karina is a member of Blagula Stirkorna organization. This organization supports our brigade in 3 years. We have got more than 1,200 FPV drones. All of them were used on the front line. We have got a lot of other help or other goods, and we have got a personal presence of Karina in our brigade on the front line. That's why I have to inform you, you is awarded by the sign of Brigade Commander, and on behalf of Brigade Commander Colonel Tarasenko, I have to give it to you, your award. It's a special sign for support of our brigade and support of whole Ukrainian army. Thank you for your personal donation. Thank you for your personal efforts, and thank you in global. I want to call Mr. Tage Perns. Mr. Perns is maybe a most active supporter of our brigade and this organization. He was personally in Ukraine several times. He was able to study what Russian drones can fly over his head. Yes, he's experienced it, how to detect Russian drone in the Ukrainian sky, and it is good. This experience is totally unusable in Sweden. And now, Tage, I have to inform you about your award for your service to Ukraine. Thank you, Tage.
Дякую. It's an honor. It's a privilege to be able to help, and an honor to have you here, of course. And I'm also happy when I come to Ukraine to be able to help.
It's yours.
Yes, I do.
Natasha Petersdottir, please go here. As far as I can understand, Natasha is she's a chief of staff of this organization. She is organizer. She is motor of this team, and that's why, Natasha, I'm glad to inform you about you are awarded by our brigade, and on behalf of Brigade Commander Mr. Tarasenko, Colonel Tarasenko, I am glad to give this sign to you. Thank you.
Дякую, thank you. Слава Україні. Дякую.
Mr. Sven Bergland. There is no need to introduce Mr. Sven to you. For me, he is Supreme Commander of Ukrainian Hub. We have a short history of cooperation, but it was a bright history, I think. And I have heard one sentence from him. The panel discussion was about how Russians offend and how we defend. Not Ukrainians, but we. As for me, a slightly psychologist, I understand what does it mean. This feeling of common here, it's thanks to you for this feeling. Thank you for your activity. Thank you for your commandment shift here. And I have to inform you about you are awarded by brigade commander of our brigade, Colonel Tarasenko, in this side. Thank you. Wow. And I want to pass the prepper of our brigade, the newly designed prepper, to Refugee Hope organization as the sign of our gratitude to you for your force and for your hospitality here. Thank you and your colleagues.
Thank you.
This new design was invented by the little help of our friends from Sweden. And that's why I want to call Mr. Alex to me. The member of board of this organization, Blagola Korna, Sarah Edengberg, she is a designer. And she helps us to make a absolutely new insignias for every unit of our brigade. It's a very important and very powerful donation for our moral state, for our identity, and that's why I ask you to pass this award to Sarah with a little help from our brigade. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, and thank you personally for your efforts here.
As you understand, there will be photo sessions after this. I'm so honored. We call you in Sweden the Swedish Brigade, and Sweden has supported you a lot. You've been here on trainings. I think you know who Joachim Hovanen is, right? Yeah. He was making a speech on Wednesday on the stage with 15 other people. And after his speech, he actually left the stage, walked around everybody to come up to you. That was an honor. That shows how much cooperation we feel. And yes, I said we, because we are together. We are against a terrible enemy. And yesterday we had an incident, because it was an incident. There was a JAS Gripen flying right over our head. And what happened then is that a lot of Ukrainians here in the hub, they were shocked. And the kids here were more than shocked, I can say. I've heard this from all over the city. Beautiful flight show. Could have been information a little bit more, but that's another thing. Today, the air defense came here. I talked to them last night, and we agreed. The soldiers from the responsible for this show, they came here. They visited the active kids in Operation Aid, so they could show them their show, how they have learned how to save people's lives. Then they took them for a special tour over to the JAS. So why do I tell this? Because this was a very good way of handling a trauma. You have a trauma, you work with it, and you turn this scariness into that the sound for them from a JAS next time is not the sound of an aircraft, a threat. It's the sound of freedom. That was what the air defense, flygvapenchefen, air defense manager, I don't know the better word, said. Let's make this a sound of freedom when he came to greet them as well. So we're now going to have a little gathering, and I think you can still stand here. We're going to start this. Oh, you did want to do something?
No, I must be very fast in the movement.
Okay.
I see that my friend from 21st Brigade did some proper things. 24th Brigade could not be the last one. So I would like just to, for our ambassadors, for them to remind about those words, what they say about what they say, stand with Ukraine as long as possible or as long as it needs to be taken. So for the French ambassador, I would like to give you a post what my soldier did by his hands, and he was 404 days on the positions, and he signed it, and Commander of Brigade also signed it, please. 404 days on the positions. Do we have German guy? Left.
Had to leave for a little while. He's coming back.
Okay. Yes, please. Mrs. Svetlana, please pass to our German ambassador the sign of the soldier, his name Doc, and he was 3 months on the positions. Yes, please. So maybe Mr. Samantha here? No, so, okay. Maybe, but I have representative, proper representative. So, Mrs. Svetlana, pass to Mrs. Samantha the sign of the soldier. His name is Mikhailuk. He was 180 days on the positions. Yes. Okay. So we got Mr. Jacob. Mr. Jacob. Yep. There's a guy who was on the positions about 354 days. His nickname is Stromny. A problematic guy.
What an honor. Thank you so much. Yeah. Really, very great. Thank you.
So, how many ambassadors we got here? So, okay. Олександр, хто ж у нас лишився, скажіть? Так, навіть і присутній. Хто? Canada. Oh, from Canada. Half Ukrainian, I guess. So, the nickname of the soldier is Bob. He was 165 days on the positions, please. Mr. Sven, 243 days on a position. The nickname Manyunchik. Smaller than smaller. Yeah. And for our important security guy, I'm sorry, the Home Defense General, he left. Okay, so please pass. The nickname is Bob. 165 days on the positions. Those are the infantry guys. Those are the infantry guys. Those are not artillery guys, nor not drone guys, just simple infantry guys. Those guys are keeping this thin line between animals and humans. And this is very hard job, believe me, very hard job. And we do not know how much we can stand longer or how long we can stand. This is all the time exhausting, bloody job, which is very, 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 very unpredictable, by the way. Thank you very much.
And this is probably the only mingle in Almedalen where we start the mingle 20 minutes into it without having a drink in our hands. But that's a volunteer life, you know, you just do it the way it comes up. We're going to have some drinks here. This non-alcoholic because we're a public area. And it's actually must, apple must from Gotland. This mustery started by a volunteer from Gotland. He sold it afterwards, but you will taste the taste of Gotland there. And we have some non-alcoholic champagne that was also donated to us. We're going to start now with an honoring you with Timur. And we're going to have the national anthem of Ukraine.
Ще не вмерла України, і слава і воля. Ще нам, браття молоді, усміхнеться доля. Згинуть наші вороженьки, як роса на сонці. запануєм і ми, браття, у своїй сторонці, душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького роду, душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького роду. Слава Україні!
And now the only thing between you this time and the drinks is the ambassador of Ukraine, Svetlana.
You know, Sven, you said that it's non-alcoholic here things, but after everything has happened here, I need some alcohol, to be honest. But no, really, I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, our partners here, you, Sven, personally, your